Hi there, and welcome to the latest episode of the It's Okay to Be Okay podcast, brought to you today by Keith Grinstead. I hope you are doing well and surviving and thriving in this post-lockdown period where we're all learning a new way of doing things. It's been quite challenging for everybody throughout lockdown periods, and I've certainly found that 16 weeks sitting on my backside has had a negative effect on my health and my well-being. So I'm quite pleased to be back out in the real world. Still a bit dubious about being in contact with people, but this is what we have to get used to now. What I want to talk about today is negative spirals. Now, this is something that sort of came to mind within the last week or so. I was chatting with somebody online, as you do, texting, and getting on really, really well with them, and everything was positive, everything was rosy, and everything felt really, really good. And then all of a sudden, this other person said something that went against my principles, was disappointing. It wasn't something that I'd expected them to say, and I then developed a negative attitude towards that person, where everything had been really, really positive up until that point. All of a sudden, I just had this negative vibes, this negative feeling that wasn't quite right. Didn't sit with me comfortably. Didn't think anything more about it. But then, probably the next day, I sensed that I was just operating on autopilot. I wasn't really thinking too much about stuff. I was, way I put it, the way I'd like to describe this is, if you imagine you're driving a car and you're moving away from stationary, and we're all trying in our lives to be moving forwards and so on and so forth, and you engage first gear to start the car moving forwards. And it doesn't matter how slowly you're moving, as long as you're moving forwards, you're coming upon new opportunities, different things are coming into your life, you're turning new corners, opening new doors, whatever, all the different cliches, but you're moving forward. That's the more important thing, no matter how slowly you're going. Then you get up into, you start to get a bit of momentum, get up into second gear. And when things are really going well, you've gone through third gear and you're up into fourth or fifth gear, cruising along. Everything's going wonderfully. Your life is working out well. You're coming upon new opportunities all the time. It's fantastic. It really is good, and you're thoroughly enjoying yourself. But, and this is what I've found, your brain, your personality, your inner self, whatever, engages what I call negative neutral. You're not in gear, you're not in first, second, third, fourth or fifth gear, you're in neutral. The gearbox is in neutral, and I call that negative neutral because you're not going anywhere. You can put your foot on the accelerator as hard as you like. If the gearbox is in neutral, you ain't going anywhere. You can try as hard as you like, and you're not going to go anywhere. Obviously, if you put yourself in neutral while the car is driving, then you will still keep moving forwards, but the car will be going slower and slower and slower until it eventually stops. I was going to say grinds to a halt, but it doesn't, because you're not braking, and it will just peter out and just leave you high and dry in the middle of the road or at the side of the road, going nowhere. So whatever you do, if your mind, yourself, your inner being engages this negative neutral, you're just not going to go anywhere. Even if you're moving, you will end up coming to a halt. And if you're in a stationary position, you're going nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. And this is what I found the other day, was that without thinking about it, my brain, my inner self had engaged this negative neutral. I was in this negative spiral where I just wasn't thinking positively about anything. And it was just gradually, let's say, on a sort of negative autopilot, if you like, where I was just on this spiral where I was just going further and further down. And I wasn't going to get anywhere. And I had to stop and think and say, Keith, what the hell are you doing? Why are you allowing, a silly little incident online to create this negativity within your mind, within your body, within yourself? And you sometimes have to stop and do a bit of a reality check on yourself. It's almost like doing doing an audit every few days or something, just to look back and think, well, okay, have I reacted to something, or have I responded to it? And I think I've spoken about this before, and I cover it in the book. The difference between reacting to something and responding to something. Somebody says something to you and you go back with an instant answer. You've reacted to what they've said. Somebody says something to you, you think about it, you come back with a valued response. You have responded to that person, and you've responded in, more often than not, in a more positive way than you would have done if you just reacted. We all end up getting into a bit of an argument with somebody, a bit of an argy-bargy, where we're reacting to what the other person's saying rather than actually thinking about really actually what the position is X, Y, Z. You don't necessarily think about the other person's position. You think about your own instant reaction. I don't agree with that. When in actual fact, if you thought about it a bit more, you might think, well, I don't agree with it, but I do actually see where you're coming from, so I understand what you're saying. So, it's this whole react rather than respond. We tend to do it instantly. So part of this audit, if you can do it every day, fantastic. If you only do it once a week or whatever, you need to do this. Okay, let's call it a negativity audit. We need to look at what we've got in our life that we've adopted a negative attitude to, because no matter how positive you are, if you've got negative vibes in your life, if you've got negativity of any sort, if somebody around you is being negative, then that's going to bring you down. And I found this, so easily the other day, that it just, without me even realising it, it turned my positivity into. I wasn't feeling negative. I was feeling neutral. I just wasn't feeling inspired to do anything, and I knew that it was on the, the tipping point of heading on that sort of depression route, if you like. And we need to be able to. We know ourselves better than anybody else does. Each of us knows ourselves better than anybody else does. And we need to be able to recognise when these negativity spirals start, when our inner self has engaged this negative neutral, as they call it. So please just take one thing away from this podcast today. It's going to be a fairly short one. Carry out a negativity audit on yourself. Think about your engagement with other people, your interactions with other people, the way you've been talking to other people, what you've done. Just think about all these things and have a much more positive outlook on things. Just want to throw in a quick advert at the end here. I'm working with a friend of mine to set up a scheme called Fit as a Fiddle. It's a program for people aged over 55. It's going to be an app and a social community for people over 55 to discuss all manner of things. We're going to be majoring on health, fitness, mental and physical well-being. I'm very much into the mental well-being side of things. We've got a challenge coming up for August, which is a 28-day nutrition habit program to get you into better nutrition habits. We've all slipped during lockdown, so have a look on Facebook. You either connect with me or check on Facebook. It's Fit as a Fiddle. There's a page and there's a group for it, and then there's a program, the 28-day program. So do please engage with that. But anyway, that's the end of It's Okay to Be Okay podcast for today. Thank you very much for listening. Do please just do the audit, do the negativity audit. Think about your life and any negativity that's coming into it. Do me a favour and just check that out and get rid of that negativity. Thank you very much indeed for listening. This is Keith Grinstead. This is the It's Okay to Be Okay podcast, and I look forward very, very much to hearing from you if you've got some messages for me, but also to speaking to you again soon. So thanks very much indeed, and have a fantastic day, have a fantastic week, have a fantastic year. It's all in your hands. Take 100% responsibility for your life. It's your life. You choose how to live it. Have a great time. Bye.